Or no, you'll just have to tell them.
That part for
Anyone who
them.
missed first class won't get to see how we totally got to slack off.
Yeah. Okay, so what's this one?
Kai-
Kaimono. Kaimono
Shopping.
is shopping, right?
Snacking on it.
Hold on, that's a child.
Child, right?
Restaurant.
Restaurant.
Something about the
Yeah.
I always wanted
I'll
oh,
Yeah, ao to meet, and it conjugates to aimasu, right?
Opera, temple, Buddhist.
Yeah, Buddhist temple.
kai, kau,
Kau, and then it conjugates to
Kai.
kaimasu, and it means
to buy.
to buy, and it is from the same root as kaimono. So yeah, when you talk about shopping, you are literally saying buying things, and kau is the verb to buy, or things to buy might be a better way to translate it since it is a noun, kaimono. But you can also do kaimono suru to do the shopping. About, right? Next to, yes.
Tori.
Alone, right?
Naka. Center.
Inside or middle, yeah, right? Bookshop, yes.
Kai.
Fire day.
Fire Day, also known as Tuesday, right? In case somebody doesn't know when Fire Day is. Sanjihan, 3:30, yep, 3:30, that's the half, the han, right?
Doryobi.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Right,
Japanese service.
right, and of course,
Ino.
and that one didn't get randomized very nicely, so I'll move it.
To exist.
Animate, right, and it conjugates to imas, yes,
Machi.
town, right, there's machi town. Yes, ichijikan, 1 hour.
Neppo.
Cat, right,
Depato.
right,
Part-time job.
part-time job, arubaito, right, yeah, yeah, cooked rice or a meal, yeah. There's actually a different word for raw rice, rice that hasn't been cooked.
Yeah, that's how it is in my translation.
Yeah,
Kara.
yeah,
From.
from, yes, so remember kara made, we talked about those two, so ichiji kara niji made, or Tokyo kara New York made, there's the kara, the from part of that pairing.
Iai.
Right. And of course that's left as in left side, not left behind.
Anata.
You, yes, pronoun you, which is a tricky one because if you put the wrong inflection on it, it can
Sounds like
sound
deer.
like deer. Yeah.
How would you, like, what is the inflection for?
I've never been able to like reliably reproduce the difference. I know that one way that it's definitely not neutral is if you slur it, anta is like rude. But anata versus anata, I think it has to do with pitch accent, which syllable gets higher pitched. Anata versus anata. But I don't really remember. And part of this comes back to me living in 2 different dialect regions. I spent a year in Tokyo where they speak standard, and then I spent a year in Gujo Hachiman where their pitch accents are reversed for everything. So everything that I learned about how to differentiate between like humo, one is spider, the other is cloud. All those pairings that I learned to pronounce correctly by Japanese standard in Tokyo when I got to that small town, people kept laughing at me and correcting me because the way I was saying them sounded backwards to them. So, when I told my host mom that there was a cloud in my room, it was a spider, but to her it sounded like I said there was a cloud in my room, and I was upset about that.
I mean, like,
and like
she was
rain.
saying so, or do they actually like?
I think she eventually figured it out, but it's a little bit like if you accidentally told somebody that you wanted to drink some heroin, you meant you wanted to drink a Coke, but Coke has a completely different meaning, right? Cocaine. So you accidentally tell somebody you want to drink cocaine when you mean you want to drink Coca-Cola, that would, people would be like, I think I know what you meant, but that sounded awful.
Yeah, I went to Steak and Shake and the waiter thought I said ammonia milkshake.
What?
I don't even know how we got that. I think I got like a mint chocolate chip or something.
Oh,
I can kind of see, but not really.
not really, yeah.
I mean, if I said Oreo or something. So I guess
Oreo, yeah.
Oreo.
Yeah, Oreo, ammonia?
Milkshake? I don't even know.
Yeah, he needed to clean his ears out.
Yeah.
He had too much wax in there. Okay, so anyway, shashin is photo, yes. And do you remember the phrase for taking a picture?
Trying not to look at the thing.
Shashin o toru. Shashin o torimasu.
Time, hour pass.
Yeah, an hour, yeah, so blank jikan is number of hours. Okay.
Vegan.
Letter, right?
Take a picture.
Right?
So,
Therefore, yeah, dakara. And that, the so or therefore, it depends on how you want to translate, because it can go in between two sentences, but sometimes one or the other can get dropped, and they still use dakara. So it can translate differently depending on whether you're dropping the sentence that came before it or the sentence that came after it. Okay, so like, let me give you an example that might make some sense. Genki dakara ikimasu. I'm feeling energetic, therefore I'm gonna go. Does that make sense? So it's like therefore there. But if somebody asks you, how come you're doing something or other? Genki dakara, because I feel energetic, I feel healthy, therefore I can. Or dakara ikimasu, that's why I'm going. Somebody says, oh, I hear you really like, anime, and dakara ikimasu, that's why I'm going to that convention, whatever. Okay, so it's one of those that's hard to pin down because the grammar of it is kind of the reverse of English. So we'll play with it more in context, it'll make more sense that way. Is,
Between.
yes, between, aida, it's between. Okay, just a few more, down or under, right? Right.
Yogi, student,
And, okay, now, I want us to at least cover one or two exercises in here. We don't have a lot of time left, we spent a lot of time on other things, but the morning class only got through a couple of exercises beyond where you guys got, so we'll see if we can just get you guys caught up. So, 116 peiji, part C, we're basically looking at the schedule and asking and answering questions about what events he has going on in his life on given days. Okay, so, why don't we start from Audrey for a change? So you want to read the question and let Bethany read the answer, and we'll go around this way for,
Example or just going into it?
go ahead and read the example to help us get started.
月曜日にフランス語のクラスがありますか？はい、あります。
Hi, so does everybody see how the chart is working there? Okay, so Bethanyさんとさん、2番。
土曜日に、no、
一番
月曜日に
はい、
映画の
英語。
のクラスがありますか？
はい、あります。
はい、そうですね。じゃあ2番。
火曜日にコンピューターのクラスがありますか？
じゃあジュリアンさん、your turn.
How was this working? Okay, wait,いや、あります。
Right. いいえ、ありません。Perfect answer. どうぞ、次。
木曜日にフランス語のクラスがありますか？ありますか？
いいえ、あります。
いいえ、ありま
あります。ありません。
はい、there you go. じゃあ次、どうぞ。
水曜日に、
4番でしょ。
あ、4番。あ、土曜日に、クラスがありません。ありますか？
はい、土曜日にクラスがありますか？
いいえ、ありません。
はい、いいですね。じゃあ5番どうぞ。
水曜日に何がありますか？
Do I need to do all of them or just one is?
Do you know how to do all of them? You can use to in between.
Okay, so フランス語と英語とコンピュータークラスがあります。
コンピューターのクラス。
クラスがあります。
はい。どうぞ。
6.
はい。
金曜日に何がありますか？
英語のテストがあります。
はい。One other thing that's happening that day.
パーティーがあります。
はい. And in this case, if you wanted to, you could also, since it's the second sentence,
How do I combine
you could either say パーティーもあります because it's two different things on the same day, or you could combine in one sentence. You could say 英語のテストとパーティーがあります. So you can use と between two noun phrases like that. 英語のテストとパーティーがあります or 英語のテストがありますパーティーもあります. Either way works. じゃあどうぞ。
日曜日に何がありますか？
アルバイトがあります。
はい、そうですね。アルバイトがあります。Any questions about how those work? Okay, so applying the same principle, we're going to let you guys read A and B of the next activity, and then instead of writing down your whole schedule and someone else's whole schedule, we're just going to take turns asking each other about whichever day of the week you want to ask about. So Julianne, go ahead and do the example with Corey, and then we'll move on from there.
月曜日に何がありますか？
日本語のクラスがあります。あります。
あります。はい. So obviously their schedule doesn't match ours, but you get the concept, right? So now you can go ahead and ask Audrey about her schedule on whichever day of the week you want to pick.
月曜日に何がありますか？
クラスがあります。
Hi, that works. Something we don't know how to say yet in Japanese. That works. Yeah, クラスがあります。Okay, どうぞ。
火曜日に何がありますか？
日本語のクラスがあります。
はい。
水曜日に何がありますか？
買い物があります。
You have to do the shopping, huh?
Maybe I'll go to the grocery store.
For what?
Alright.
For drinking.
どうぞ。
日曜日に何がありますか？
Thinking. What should I make up? What do I make up? Pressure. 買い物があります。
はい。Okay, now ask Corey one more time. Let him do one that's an original instead of the book.
土曜日に何がありますか？
アルバイトあります。
アルバイト。
があります。
There you go. はい、アルバイトがあります。はい。質問がありますか？
Would it be,
Right.
like, is it normal to, like, if you're asking somebody, like, what they do on a certain day, I mean, would you ask them, like, ありますか? Or would you ask them, like, しますか?
It
Or-
depends. Both are possible. 日曜日に何をしますか versus 日曜日に何がありますか It's kind of like asking, I think it was mine. It's kind of like the difference between what do you do on Saturdays, or did you say Sunday? I don't remember now what you said.
I mean, just in general.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
it's kind of like the difference between what do you do on Saturdays or what are you doing on Saturday. So
Okay.
one of them's more like habit, the other's more like what's your plan for this coming one. So, but it's not a huge difference between them, so they are somewhat interchangeable, but obviously arimasu is the new vocab, so they want
Yeah,
you
I
to
get
practice that one.
If, like, somebody asked you, like, something like ありますか, would it be strange to reply with a different noun or
A
just?
different verb, you mean?
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It depends, like, 日曜日に何がありますか? 買い物をします is a more normal phrase for 買い物 rather than 買い物があります. Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
something like, 日曜日がありますか?
日曜日
テレ
に何がありますか? テレビを見ます. Yeah, that works. Yeah, 日曜日に何がありますか? 買い物をします is a more normal phrase for doing the shopping.
So if there's just like a more fitting verb, you can.
Yeah, you can switch to that one. This particular time, they wanted you to use the arimasu as much as possible, and they were kind of expecting that you would try to use similar examples to the text. So, 日本語のクラスがあります。英語のクラスがあります。コンピューターのクラスがあります。パーティーがあります。アルバイトがあります。When it's an event that's a noun like that, usually blank ga arimasu works pretty well, but there are certain ones like kaimono that just pair better with shimasu instead of arimasu. And then there's some like, eigo mimasu that it just works better to use the verb that would naturally go with that. Eiga ga arimasu, I have a movie, sounds a little odd. I think partly maybe because it's something that isn't necessarily scheduled for you. Like you kind of decide for yourself that you're going to go see a movie or not. You kind of decide for yourself when you're going to go shopping. It's not necessarily at a particular time or on a particular schedule every week. But, Nihongo no kurasu is scheduled.
Yeah, like it kind of sounds like arimasu is kind of like, is it on the schedule?
Yeah. I think it's close to like I have a Japanese class versus I'm gonna go shopping or I'm gonna go see a movie. You know, you wouldn't normally say I have a movie to go to in English, right? It's not common to say it that way. You more likely say I'm going to a movie. Even if it's like plans you made with friends a long time ago, you'd probably still say I'm going to a movie with friends, not I have a movie to go to with friends. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the arimasu thing is close to the have expression in English in this case. You know, I'm gonna go shopping is more likely than I have shopping, right?
Yeah.
But I have a computer class. Yeah, computer no class ga arimasu. That works. So does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So, and that actually takes us to where my morning class left off also, except, oh yeah, we started to do part 2A. We read the examples, but then we didn't get a chance to actually do them, do the exercise. So, you know, toshokan wa daigaku no ushiro desu. You see where toshokan and daigaku are in the little picture? So toshokan wa daigaku no ushiro desu, or toshokan wa supa no tonari desu. You see how those two relate to each other? And you've got, yeah, yeah. And then you've got the two little stick figure people who the morning class observed are way too big for the scale. They're like
So it's
Godzilla
very
people.
small backup.
Yeah, or Godzilla people, you know. So, at any rate, so you've got the context there for how you can build those sentences, so we can talk about that next class, and you guys are actually caught up with my morning group.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah, I like to keep you guys on the same page when possible. It makes it easier for me to keep track of what we're supposed to be doing next.
That's confusing.
Yeah. So, so on Tuesday, we'll do Roman numeral 2 stuff, and probably 3. I think we might get to 3. We don't chit-chat too much. And then, probably later in the week, we'll finish out 4, maybe even get to 5.
Oh my god, there's so many of this one.
And, yeah, we're gonna,
Oh no, that's a lot in this one.
yeah,
There's a lot in vocabulary, so.
yeah, there's a lot of vocabulary, there's a lot of grammar points in this chapter, and there are some kanji that are a little bit more to learn than the first batch of kanji.
First batch was pretty simple.
Yeah.
They're all less than like 4 strokes
Yeah.
besides, time.
Yeah,
They're also kind of like, they were all numbers mostly.
right,
and
mostly
then we have
numbers
the-
and
Yeah.
number-related
That's like
concepts, and now we've got the days of the week and some oddball ones like the yo and
Yeah.
the robi and all that. So,
Too many strokes.
okay. Any other questions?
I don't know if that was the question.
Okay.
Very cool.
Also my class too.
This is something I saw in a like compilation of Japanese